Howdy, folks. I'm Scoryth, the Crimson Renegade, and today I'm bringing you a special series or a special episode, at least one episode. I'm bringing you a special of an old game I played a long time ago when I was a kid as well. This game is called EGA Trek, as you can clearly see on the screen here. This is a DOS game that was originally created by somebody. I'm not really sure exactly whose name it is. It probably said it on that screen there. Originally, it was like a sort of like a fan service game to Star Trek, obviously. Originally, the entire game was actually called, I believe the game was actually originally called Star Trek. And you flew around on the Starship Enterprise. You flew for the United Federation of Planets. You fought the Klingons. You had occasional Romulan ships show up. They had you went and mined occasionally. You found planets. You mined for dilithium. Well, unfortunately, the creator of this game did not get Paramount's permission before creating this game. So I believe they basically just did a basic C&D, a cease and desist, and the creator just changed everything to. The only thing he did was just change the Paramount, the trademark exclusive stuff to be sort of like a parallel to Star Trek, but not actually be Star Trek, even though that's what it is. And I'll show you what I mean when I get into the game. This is like I said, this is a DOS game. It's completely keyboard based, very similar to Silent Service 2. I believe this game came out in 1992, and it is. All you're doing is you're putting in text commands, and your ship will do whatever it is. You're the captain of the ship. You type in your command, and the ship does it. So instead of actually saying the command, you type it in, obviously. And I'll show you how that works in just a second. Let's get it started here. Welcome aboard, Captain. Will you require a briefing? I don't really need to, but I'm going to go ahead and suggest to show it off here. Good morning, Captain. As you know, you have been given command of the heavy research battlecruiser U.S.S. Lexington. Originally, it was called the Enterprise, obviously. Standard Fleet Designation RCB-92. Originally, NCC 1701, obviously. The Lexington is staffed with its full complement of 387 enlisted crewmen and 43 officers and is fully battle-ready. If you will allow me, I have prepared several briefings, including an intelligence report on the current state of affairs, an introduction to Lexington Class 9 starships, and the commands at your disposal as captain. I'm pretty sure that there's probably Constitution class starships, because I believe the original Enterprise was Constitution or Constellation. I always get those two backwards. I always get those two confused. And enter for next page, a cue to quit briefing. I'll go ahead and enter here. If it tells you how to play the game, I already know how, so I'm not going to bother going through that. Intelligence report. As you probably know, the Mongol Empire. The Mongols were, again, he rearranged the text to be not to use the copyright or the trademarks of Paramount and Star Trek. So the Mongol Empire was originally the Klingon Empire. The Mongol Empire has declared war on the Union, originally the Federation. The Vandal Empire, the Vandals were originally the Romulans, has joined the hostilities in some areas, but should be avoided if possible. As a result, a Mongol invasion fleet and scattered Vandal ships are now present in part of Union territory. Again, Federation territory. Your mission as commander of the Lexington is to secure a 64-quadrant section of the galaxy from the Mongols. You may also be called on to make rescues, but remember that your primary objective is to eliminate the Mongols. Mongols are known to be present in this area, but exact locations are unknown at this time. You will be required to scan for Mongols as you move through the galaxy. We have made several star bases available in this area as well, though we cannot give you their exact location as they are presently still being positioned. All right, here's the overview of the Lexington, aka the Enterprise. Originally, what you see, the diamond-shaped saucer here on the lower right-hand side of the screen, right next to my face, was actually originally round, just like the Enterprise was. So this is based off the original Star Trek series from the 60s. This is the TOS, the original Captain Kirk series from the 60s. Excuse me. Here's all of its stats there. You see main lasers was originally phasers. They changed that to lasers. Torpedoes was energy torpedoes, which originally photon torpedoes. So like I said, he had to change the text of the trademarked stuff that Paramount and Star Trek had. So if you see some parallels between Star Trek and this game, that's why. Originally, the Lexington was Enterprise. RCB 92 was NCC 1701, the designation on the hull, that kind of thing. Okay, we got that done. The Lexington has a cruising speed of up to warp factor 6 and can manage warp 8 in emergencies. This is for traveling between quadrants, of course. Within a quadrant, you have to use the impulse engines. I'm surprised they didn't have to change any of that. The following commands are available to you. I already know about all the commands. I'll get to that in just a second. I guess I could have read some of this stuff. I'll go ahead and just skip all this because I'll go over how to. This basically teaches you how to interact with the game. I'll go over all that when I get into the game. So be right back as I get to that. Okay, we got through the briefing. Restore a save game. No, we're not doing that. Please enter your name. Scoryth. The Crimson Renegade. For verification, enter your command level. This is actually designate your difficulty level, how hard the game's going to be. 1 is easiest, 5 is the hardest. For the sake of this particular, I'm going to play this game twice, actually. This first run, I'm going to put it on level 1, which is really the easiest one, just to kind of give you an idea and show you how the commands work, what commands you're going to be using, most often at least, and how to actually play the game. And then I'll come back and play another game on the hardest level and hopefully beat it. I have beat it on the hardest level before, but it is extremely difficult. The difficulty level of this game spikes quickly. You get to you try command level 3 or 4, and you can get wiped out pretty quick. So 5 is near impossible. But I said near. It's not really impossible because it's possible. Even though I have never done it, I've gotten really, really close. So it is possible. So for now, just for like I said, the sake of this tutorial episode, I guess you could say, I'll say 1. And what it'll say here is Lieutenant Commander, which basically is your rank, even though you're captain of the ship. But this also tells you, again, your difficulty level. Lieutenant Commander is the easiest, and I believe, I don't know if it goes all the way to Admiral or Captain, is the highest difficulty. Please enter your self-destruct password. This is nothing important here. Make up anything you want. I'm just going to put boom here just because that's all that matters. You can actually set your ship for self-destruct, but before you do, you actually have to put in a password in order to actually initiate the ship's self-destruct. And that is obviously whatever you put here. And it really doesn't matter what it is. It could be one letter. It could be, I think you can just press enter sometimes and have nothing at all. It really doesn't matter. So I'm just going to boom here, and here we go into the main screen. Okay. This is the main screen that you're going to see throughout the entire game. The main viewer is not really that critical. It's not really going to show you too much information that's important. It does kind of give you a view of what's around you. As you can see in that last screen there, it showed Starbase 6, which in the upper left-hand corner is the little icon down here at 8.5. So it's kind of nice that it actually does give you kind of a perspective of how far away it is. And if I were to move real close to the starbase on the next time the main viewer came up with just the main screen, it would actually be really big. And the same were true if you were far away from it, it would actually show it be really, really tiny. And the same is true for any other stars, planets, or ships that may be in that area as well. If you're really close to them, it'll show them really big. If they're really far away, it'll show them really small. So it's kind of cool that they give you sort of a 3D perspective in this really completely almost one-dimensional game, even though, yeah, it is 2D. In the upper left-hand corner is the sector map. This is where your ship is and where all the, I'll just say objects in the sector are. Each dot represents a section of the sector, if you'll allow me to use that phrase, on an 8x8 grid, as you can clearly see. The number on the left is that indicator number at the top is the top indicator, and whenever you're putting in the numbers to move your ship around, the first number will always be the left number, the second number will always be the top number. So for example, right now I am at, if I were to locate myself on the sector map here, I'm at 5-4. 5 on the map from the left and 4 from the down. As you can see what I am, I'm the ship that matches the icon that we saw on the intro screen earlier with the triangle head and the little engines on the top. Basically, that's the icon of our ship looking at from the top perspective. What these little asterisks are at like 1-3 and 1-4, at 3-1, 8-1, and over at 6-8 are stars. They're just objects that are there. You can't actually run into them. You can't run into anything. There's no collisions in this game. But if it's if the object is in your way, you can't actually go through it. Like, I can't really give you a good example because everything is on the outside of the map. But let's say my ship was currently at 4-1 instead of actually where it is now. Just for example, I guess I can go ahead and just show you that. Okay, the move command is M. Well, first we're going to move, which is M, and then 4-1. 4 being the first number on the left, and then 1 being the number on the top because I want to go right into the star. So I'm going to press Enter. It's going to move. You'll see the icon move from where it is to 4-1. And that's how you move throughout the sector. You just put M, and then you're the 2 digits that you want to go to, which again is left and top. Now, let's say I wanted to go from where I am from 4-1 to 2-1. I won't be able to because the star is in my way. Move to 2-1. You see over here on the right-hand side of the screen, navigation, moves blocked by object at 3-1. So if there is any objects on this map, they won't be able to fly right directly past it. They will be you'll actually stop at the sector coordinates next to that object. So as you can see on the main viewer now, that 1 star that's in front of me is really big because I'm really close to it. Now, if I were to try to go to, say, 2-2, I'll be able to get there easily because that's not a direct path. The star is not directly in my way. And the same is true for anything on the map, be it a star base, be it a ship, enemy or friendly. Whatever objects that you see on the sector map, you cannot fly past them or through them to get to an object. You have to actually go around them more or less. And it gives you some leeway. As you can see, the ship is white. Now let's see. I don't know where should I go from here? I guess you should keep with the interface first. On this map, like I said, you see me, you see the asterisks, those are the stars. Now at 8-5 is the star base that we saw on the main viewer earlier. That is your base of operation. That is a base of operations. By the way, before I get too far into this, let me say this. This game is completely randomized in every way as far as the maps, the number of enemies you see, how they react, and things of that sort. Just because I happen to spawn in this particular sector and location doesn't mean I'll spawn here again if I play the map again. And also, I spawn in this particular, or I go to, say I'm somewhere else in another area, and I come to this particular area, it may not be like this. I could come to this particular area again, not just in another game, but even in this current game, and all the stars might stay, but ships and and bases like the star base will have moved around the map. So that's very interesting. Is how it's completely randomized, which is really, really nice. It gives it some variation. Gives a lot of replayability too. At star bases, you can dock and replenish your ship. There are 3 different types of star bases, and only at star bases. Let me say it like this: there's actually 3 different types of stations that are kind of like star bases. They're friendly stations essentially. There's star bases, science stations, and something else. I want to say like research station or something of that sort. Only at star bases can you completely get a restock on your weapons and energy and shields. Which, speaking of weapons and shields, let's go over to the right. Let's go over to the right a little bit, and you'll see this blue box in the middle here that says date 3550.1. That's the star date. That's the Star Trek designation for star date. The box that says status green, meaning there's no enemies in the area. And then below that, you see the 2 circles that say energy and shields. Energy is obviously the energy, the power that your ship has. If that reaches 0, you can't fire your weapons, you can't move very fast, you can't do anything, obviously. It's the power your ship has. Now, you're not going to be dead if you run out of energy, but you're going to have a hard time doing things. Next to that is your shields. That essentially is your health meter. Now, while you do have like sort of like an HP level, you do have a health level of the ship itself. You can't find out what that is anywhere in this game. It's a number that's in the game, and at least I haven't been able to find it, so I don't know actually how much damage the ship can take. But I know that when the shields are a big factor to that. The more you see the kind of the arrow that kind of points, the blue arrow points a little bit over the dial there. If that dial goes all the way to the left, you're very, very close to dead. Even if you haven't taken a hit to the main hull yet, I've noticed that when that shield bar drops, you're pretty close to dead. So I think that is your strongest recommendation, not recommendation, but representation of your health. Below that is your warp speed. Right now it's set to 1 point. I'll show you how to change that in a bit. And Mongols is 26. There are 26 Mongol ships in the entire area that we have to destroy. And once that reaches 0, you won the game. It's literally that easy. And then next to that, you see the 9 red squares or 9 red icons. Those are your energy or photon torpedoes. You can only fire 3 torpedoes at a time, at maximum per salvo. And obviously, once you use up all 9 slots, you're out of torpedoes. You can't fire anymore. Now, to the right of that, on that really, really big rectangle over on the right, it says Chart of Known Galaxy. That is your quadrant map, which is similar to the sector map on the left. The difference between the quadrant map and the sector map is each one of these sectors that you see is in each one of those triple dots that you see on that 8x8 square grid. So it's similar to the square grid you see on the left, but each one of these grids is in one of those sectors, if you will, of that map. That's the quadrant map. This is the sector map. So let's say we wanted to move. Right now we are at 7-6. And the numbers work the same as they do on the sector map. The left number is first. The top number is second. So right now we are in quadrant 7-6. It says Lexington and quad 7-6. We are in quadrant 7-6, sector 4-1. That's our exact location right now. Now let's say we wanted to go to sector quadrant 6-6, which is right above us. We would have to move M to 6-6. But we have to also but in order to tell the game that we want to move to another quadrant, we have to give it the quadrant number first and then the sector number. So we have to put 4 digits in if we want to move to a different quadrant. So I'm not going to do that just yet because that red number means there's an enemy there. I don't want to go there just yet. And you don't have to worry about time. Time is not progressing while I'm talking here. Time only moves as you put in actions and commit actions to the game. So essentially, it's totally turn-based. So until you do something, put in a command of move, dock, whatever, the game's not doing anything. It's not going to ship suddenly going to fly into the sector and start attacking me while I'm talking to you. It's not that active a game. But let's say I did want to go up to that sector, up to 6-6. I would have to put in M6-6 because that's the quadrant I want to go to, and then the second set of numbers don't really matter as long as they're between 1-1 and 8-8. That just tells the game where I want to be when I enter that quadrant. So let's say I put in M66 3-6. That's going to move me to sector 6, quadrant 6-6 on the big map, and when I reach that quadrant, my little icon of the ship will be at 3-6 on the sector map. And when we get there, the sector map will change to depict what's in that sector. And in this case, what we're looking at here on the sector map, on the quadrant map, I keep saying sector, on the quadrant map over there, you see the red 105. Each one of those digits is a representative of something in that sector. And the first digit will indicate how many enemies are in that sector. In this case, there's only one Mongol ship in quadrant 6-6. I keep saying sector, I apologize. In quadrant 6-6, there is one enemy vessel. And that's the first digit of the 3. So as you can see, all the other ones that we see around it, they all say 0 and they're in green. That means there's no enemy ships, specifically the Mongols. There's no Mongol ships in any of those sectors around me except the one at 6-6. There's one there in 6-6. That's why it's red. The 0 depicts how many friendly bases or friendly stations are in that quadrant. In the case of the one we're at 7-6, it says 0, 1 in yellow, 1 depicting we have 1 star base in this quadrant that we're in, obviously. Also that doesn't necessarily determine how many stations are in that quadrant, but specifically what type of station is in that quadrant. Let me pull up the help real quick because I can actually tell you what those numbers are to find out for sure. I'll skip that one for now. And this is what I was looking for. At the bottom, long-range scan objects, talking about the upper right-hand corner. That's talking about the quadrant map. Number of stars is the number on the right. That's what I was trying to say. 5 depends on how many represents how many stars are in that sector. So as you can see with the quadrant we're in at 7-6, there's no enemy ships because the number of Mongols is 0 where we are. 1 is type of base, 0 says no base, 1 is a star base, which is what we're looking for most often, 2 is a research station, and 3 is a supply depot. Now, I'm pretty sure of this. I'm not 100% sure because I try to look specifically for star bases, but I believe that I know for sure. One, at star bases, you get a full restock of everything. Your energy, your shields, your weapons, all get recharged and reloaded. At a research station, I think you only get maybe some energy or I forget exactly what you get, but you don't get a full restock of everything. And at supply depots, I think you only get some things. I'm not entirely sure. That's why I say I only usually look for one when I'm looking for a station to dock at. I only usually look for a 1 because at 2 and 3, it doesn't give you everything. It only gives you some things, if any at all. But 1 is a star base, and that's the best. They give you a full restock. And so in the case of the map that we're looking at here, we are at Sector 7-6. There are no Mongols in the area, as I said. There is 1 star base here because we have 1 and it's a star base. And there are 5 stars, which are the 5 asterisks you see on the sector map. Now, if I were to go up to 6-6, as I was talking about, we will encounter 1 Mongol ship, no star bases because there's obviously no star base there, and there'll be 5 asterisks on the screen somewhere in the sector map because there are 5 stars there. Now, on the upper part of the screen, what they call the short-range scan, or the sector map is what I call it, that shows you the icons. It's the legend of the icons that you'll see in the sector map. Obviously, our ship is the one I told you about with the triangle and the engines on it. The Vandal, or the Romulans, is the kind of arrowhead-shaped ship kind of thing. The Vandals are really nothing important. You can shoot at them. They're kind of hard to hit. Your torpedoes will miss every time, and you have to deal a lot of phaser damage. I'm used to the Star Trek lingo. A lot of laser damage to it in order to actually destroy it. It doesn't actually fire back. It never does. So it's really just more of like a bonus ship. If you destroy it, you get bonus points at the end of the game. And then you see the 4 different types of Mongol ships here. Each one of those is obviously a different type of ship, and some are stronger than others. I believe the Commander is the strongest. Supply ship and scout ships. I think scout ships are like real fast ships. They can move around and stuff. They all have a different function, but they're all like different levels of difficulty. The most common one you're going to see is the blue one, the Mongol battleship. The commanders are the red ones. At difficulty level 1, you're only going to encounter just the battleships. You won't encounter any other of the Mongols. I don't know if you're going to encounter the next icon that you see below the purple ship, the Mongol base. I don't know for sure if I've ever seen a Mongol base on level 1 or not. I'm not really sure. I don't encounter those very often to begin with. But I don't know. I don't think I've ever encountered one at level 1, but I don't know for sure that they're not there. Then below that, what you see is a friendly base. In other words, star base, research station, or supply depot, 1, 2, or 3. Then you see the asterisk is a star, and then the kind of, I guess you say like a shinier star, like double cross. It's different, obviously. That's what's called a nova. Essentially, the only way a nova will appear is if you hit a star with a photon torpedo. Energy torpedo, and it somehow detonates the star and turns it into a nova. All that happens there is when the star becomes nova, it just does damage to all the ships in the sector, including your own. And I usually the game actually takes points away if you hit a star. But I find it really useful strategically because if the enemy ships are close enough to a star that you torpedo it and it goes nova, you can destroy the Mongol ships with them. I've destroyed as many as 3 ships that were near a star that went nova from 1 torpedo that I torpedoed the star with. So it's actually a really good strategy, but the game takes away points for that. I don't know why. And then the final icon you see is kind of a round-looking thing. Is a planet. It's different color. There's different colored planets, and the color doesn't really designate anything, but they're good for going to it. You can actually orbit it and send a landing party down, and you can do anything from extract minerals to pick up supplies to things of that sort. So we'll go ahead and enter here and move on to the. I'll go ahead and pull up the. I'll put show up again and pull up the command list that you can use for the commands that you're allowed to do. You can't just put anything in here and say, "Hey Yeoman, bring me up a cup of coffee." No, that doesn't work. You're never going to see that. But you have certain commands you can put in. You can type those in. I'll show you what it is in just a second.